Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, was one of my favorite games of 2019. I really enjoyed diving into the story and playing as all of these classic Marvel superheroes. Every time I jump into MUA 3, I get addicted to the core experience. It's a top-down action RPG with a lot of bashing and punching and flipping and flying and all kinds of special attacks based on whatever character that you're going to have. And there's this compulsive loop on bashing through things and breaking all the little items to get the currency that will allow you to level up. Even after you've leveled up every one of your attacks and you're at sort of max power, there's still an ability to access new crystals and slot them into different spots that will make you even stronger and more powerful. And of course, the level cap is pretty massive as well. And there are so many different characters that you're constantly mixing and matching and trying to level up everybody as uniformly as you can, although that becomes impossible because you start to sort of gravitate to some of your favorites. I wanted to extend my experience with MUA 3, so I picked up the expansion pass. There were 2 other DLC chapters that were released, Marvel Knights Curse of the Vampire, and then Rise of the Phoenix. So we got all of these cool characters like Blade, we got Moon Knight, we got Morbius, and the Punisher. And then in the Rise of the Phoenix, we got X-Men characters to kind of flesh out the roster. And now the latest chapter, it's called Shadow of Doom, and it stars Dr. Doom. And of course, we also get the Fantastic Four to play as in this piece of DLC.
About time you guys got here.
With the Fantastic Four DLC, we're finally getting some new story content. All of the previous DLC has been more about new modes and new kind of arcade sort of ways to access content. But with the Shadow of Doom DLC, there's sort of like an epilogue. There's this post story that follows up on what happens at the end of the Black Order story content. And so we've got Dr. Doom, he's chasing after one of the Infinity Stones, and he's becoming incredibly cosmically powerful and creating all kinds of carnage, and he's got all of his Doombots running around.
You shall pay for that transgression with your lives.
I love the Fantastic Four, so it was really fun to jump in and play as the Thing and the Human Torch and Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman.
We have a universe to save.
Don't we always?
All of them have great powers and abilities. I was especially fond of Mr. Fantastic and his ability to swing out his arms and do this tornado kind of attack, which was super cool. I also liked all of the quips that the Thing would throw out there. Coming through! Human Torch is incredibly powerful, and Invisible Woman has the ability to encase everybody in sort of a bubble shield for a little while. One of my favorite new abilities actually was the ability for the Thing to reach into the earth and grab a giant rock and use it as a shield while still walking into battle. And I had to employ that in a couple of different ways, because one of the things that Dr. Doom does, and this is a tiny bit of a spoiler, I tweeted about it and showed off some of this footage, but he brings a Celestial back to life with cosmic power, and this Celestial is massive, and it rains down holy hell on the Fantastic Four or whatever assortment of heroes you've got. And it's an impossible sort of gauntlet that you have to run as your heroes, as you've got lightning strikes and flame paths happening and bombs happening and all kinds of debris, and just utter carnage is going on down this corridor that you have to kind of go through. And the skill set and the abilities and the movement that you get in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is not really engineered for, quick snap decision making like this. This is almost like a platformer kind of challenge, and it was so insufferably challenging and cheap. I was just getting so angry, and it happened not once but 3 different times in the game, and I tweeted that this was as insufferable as the cheapest stuff I've been playing in any of the 16-bit games that I've been playing recently. And I've played some good ones, but I've also played some really terrible ones, and this reminded me of that. It looks cool, it looks great, there's lots of incredible kinetic stuff happening on screen, but trying to navigate through that, awful. The way that I figured it out, and I had to go to YouTube to kind of like, how do you get past this stupid thing, was that the Thing's shield, the rock shield, would let him go forward. And there were also crazy jumping challenges where you had to jump through sort of laser traps that were coming at you. Standard video game fare, but the mechanics of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 this isn't Ninja Gaiden we're playing here. This is a top-down game for the most part. They do switch up the camera angle every once in a while, but I was just getting really annoyed by how cheap some of these environmental puzzles were, especially when you're playing with somebody else. I was playing with my daughter, and she was trying to stay with me and also make this jump at the same time, and none of us could, and it was just so insufferable and frustrating. We were jumping through lasers and getting blasted back and watching our health meters go down. And I did eventually get past it and beat Doom and finish the story content.
Yeah, about time. I was starting to wonder when we're just gonna find a real challenge in this place.
Only you would think that surviving a dimension full of hungry alien insects was too easy, Ben.
Well, you know me, Susie Q. I got a reputation to uphold.
That didn't stop me from becoming completely addicted to it and from loving all of the story bits. And, I love the cut sequences in here. I like the voice acting. I love the energy of these games, especially tied to my adoration of all of the MCU movies. This was a great way to engage with it in an interactive way, even if it wasn't a mind-blowing reinvention of the action RPG kind of space. I like that there's multiplayer online. I like that there's local multiplayer. I do think that the Activision published Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 were a little stronger because they leaned towards a little more photorealism using the technology that was available to them back then. And they also introduced a lot of game elements that really haven't been revolutionized as we've done 3. 3 it is a great game, but it's a safe game, and it feels a lot like the developers and Nintendo wanted to just build something that worked, that played in much the same way that the previous MUA games did, but not really kind of upend the apple cart and show us something brand new that we've never seen before. And in some ways, I kind of agree with people that think that it's a step down in terms of fidelity from what we saw with the previous games. I also feel like some of the structure of switching between menus to decide what campaigns you're playing and what challenges you're playing, all of it is a little bit opaque and, a little unclear. Also, the creation of all of these ISO 8 sub-menus and all the collecting of all of these crystals and all that stuff, and what is this going to do, what's that going to do. The infinity kind of structure of the game to keep you playing it forever is also a lot to kind of understand and dig into and a little frustrating. There are also a lot of challenge missions where even if you've got a leveled up character, you're on your own for some of the challenge missions, and they're incredibly tough, where you're trying to beat up a bunch of bad guys in a set amount of time in a danger room sequence or something like that. And I found myself replaying those challenges and not progressing further, and that frustrates me. But there is no denying that at the end of, we're getting close to a year with this game, there is a lot of content in here. And if you love Marvel, you're going to be in heaven with all of these different elements that are added to it. And there is no denying as well that every time I jump back into this game, and I'm not deleting it off my Switch anytime soon. Every time I jump back into this game, I have a lot of fun with it.
I was a lot more intimidated when you had an armored space giant backing you up. Oh!
Overall, I think that the DLC is worth that expansion pass price, which was $20 in the States. I guess it's probably about $25. Can't remember what I paid for it. I don't regret buying it because I've got access to all of these different characters. And the way that I kind of justify the purchase price on this and the game in general, which I really enjoy, is the fact that you get these interactive action figures of all of these heroes that you might dig. And as you can see, I'm a fan of the action figure. So I would recommend it if you're someone like me that loves Marvel, that has a Switch, because it's a Nintendo exclusive, it's only on the Switch, that digs this kind of art aesthetic. I think that you will dig the extension to the core Black Order experience that you get with Marvel Ultimate Alliance. But just don't expect, like the core game doesn't revolutionize top-down action RPGs. Don't expect the DLC to really break it out even further, right? It's a lot of fan service and a lot of, well, here are all the characters, play with them in sequences that you'll see over and over again.
It's clobbering time!
Truthfully, there's a lot still to get frustrated by, but I dug it overall. I'm going to give the DLC expansion pack in totality an 8 out of 10, but my love for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 endures. It's still a great game.